Guys, it's been like 2 years since I last done a YouTube video. What the freaking hell? So I am back and I'm so freaking excited for this comp prep series. As you know, if you've been following me for a long time, I always vlog my journey to the stage. But if you don't know and you're new here, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss another episode. Because not only am I going to be showing you my journey to the stage, I'm also going to be giving you tons and tons of content and useful tools that you can use on your fat loss journey as well. And before I get started, I just want to say, if you hear any drilling outside, it's been going on all freaking day. I had to keep stop and starting, so that's what that is. Now, this is episode 1 of my comp prep series. I am going into the WBFF Worlds show in August, and this is going to be my first ever World show and my second pro debut. Now, before I actually get into that, I just want to give you guys a bit of an update on what's been happening over the last couple of years. Because 2 years, guys, is a fucking long time. And to be honest, I do wish I could say it's all been amazing and fun, but as you know, lockdown happened, right? So I feel like so many of us missed out on a year of our life. We wasn't able to travel and do all the things that we wanted to do. However, I definitely made the most of it, which I'll be talking about a little bit later on in the episode. And there it is. I didn't want you. So this is the bottle I'm drinking out of currently. It's 1.5 liters. I used to have the big 2-liter one, but I find it was so fucking annoying carrying around. So I swapped it for a 1.5, which means that for me, I know as long as I drink 2 of these a day, plus 2 pints of water in the morning, that's me done. So that's how I track my water. Okay, so let's rewind and go back to 2019, where I left my last episode. So as I said, in 2019, like you saw, I come second at the London Europeans in my first pro debut show, which I was not even expecting. You can see my previous episodes. I've done a whole vlog on my pro debut to the stage, so definitely go back and watch those if you want to catch up. But to cut a long story short, I come second, and I wasn't expecting that. I thought I was going to come 4th or 5th because the girls were stacked. There were so many amazing girls on that day, so to come second to Eleni, who is absolutely insane, was literally a shock to me. So before the show, I was actually getting ready to leave the UK for good. Ross and I had made the decision that we were going to go full digital nomad and travel the world, so we decided to get rid of our car, our house, everything, pack all our belongings into 2 suitcases, although Ross had 1 and I had like 3. I got rid of like 20 bin bags of clothes. We got rid of everything because we thought personally that we was not going to come back to the UK. So we started off in New York for Christmas, which was one of my dreams. I'd always wanted to do, so that was so magical. Then we went to Canada for a few weeks to visit our mentor at the time. Then we flew out to Vegas for my birthday. Then we went out to LA, where we went to Hollywood and Venice Beach. And it was at this point that we got the news about COVID. And although it wasn't as bad here in the UK yet, we made the decision to come home because things were so uncertain. However, at the time, it wasn't the best circumstances. We had nowhere to live. We didn't have time to find a house. So we ended up living with Ross's dad for 4 weeks. Like you can imagine, moving back in with your parents is not that much fun. But it did give us that kick up the arse that we needed to get out and get our own place and our own space. And that's when we ended up finding this beautiful apartment I'm in now, which I'm so blessed. We have a beautiful view of the river. Now, when lockdown happened, we took advantage of this and we decided to completely rebrand our business at the time. So for anyone who has followed me for a while, my old business used to be called Body Transformation Academy, and we run that business for 4 to 5 years, and it was amazing. But over the last couple of years, I have really enjoyed coaching women overcome toxic diet culture and to be able to teach them all the things that I've learned over the years to allow me to be able to go into WBFF Worlds, to go into this prep without restricting the foods I love while still getting amazing results. And this is part of the reason why I wanted to do this comp prep series this time around, to show you how I do things differently. And although I'm prepping for a show, I'm not going to change anything I'm doing other than adapting a few things here or there. Everything that I do is always the same. I don't do anything extreme. I don't cut anything out. And this is part of the reason why I went from BTA fitness to strong AF coaching, because my whole thing is about health helping you women become physically and mentally strong AF. And using my personal experiences and all the knowledge I built up over the last 6 years to help you do the same. Since lockdown, we have done photo shoots with the girls, which has been so much fun. I think we've done 2 group Strong AF coaching shoots, which has been amazing. I've been able to help women from all around the world. I released my 12-week Strong AF Fat Loss Blueprint last year, which hundreds and hundreds of you women from all around the world have used and applied and got incredible results. And that was when I decided to create Ditch the Diets Academy off the back of how successful the blueprint was. Now, during that time, you might have noticed that something else has changed since my last show. Yes, I had breast augmentation surgery, and this is something that I wanted done for years. Now, during lockdown, I took advantage of this because for so many years, I have wanted to get breast augmentation surgery, and especially when I got into competing, for me personally, I was not as confident on stage when I got that lean to completely lose what makes us feminine, right? And I don't think having breast augmentation surgery is something to be ashamed of, which was why I'm so open about it. For me personally, it has helped my confidence massively. So one of the reasons why I waited so long was because obviously when you have that surgery, yes, you're out of training for 6 weeks, but the recovery after that is still very long. And it took me about 4 to 5 months to get my strength back to where it was prior to the surgery. So the best time to do this was during lockdown, because all the shows got cancelled. And even though I knew that my training was going to be affected for about 4 to 5 months, it was the best time to do it, because even after my recovery, I still had a good year and a bit to build muscle on top of the muscle that I lost during my recovery. So this was a photo of me before my surgery, and this was about 6 weeks after surgery. So as you can see, I had lost quite a bit of muscle in my shoulders and especially my legs. Now, a lot of that would just be down to not training and not using them. Obviously, as soon as I got back into the gym, I got that pump back, but I did lose a bit of muscle. So even when I got back into training and I built that muscle back that I lost, I then had to build more muscle on top of that to be ready for the Worlds this year. And this was the main reason why I did not compete last year, even when the Worlds went ahead, because I knew that I wouldn't look as good as I did back in 2019. And although in 2019, I actually sprained my hamstring 6 weeks into my prep, which meant that I couldn't even train my lower body other than body weight for the rest of the prep. So this is the result I got of not training my lower body, and I was so freaking proud of that. And to come second out of 25 girls, regardless of that, honestly, I was so fucking over the moon. Now, my feedback from the last show that I did, and this was probably the best feedback I've ever got, was nothing to do with my actual physique. It was more about just acting like I already won it, even more, okay? Like, I thought I was giving it, and you know, looking back at my posing, you can definitely see that I was giving it everything I had. I'm confident, you know, I love posing. That's one of my main strengths because I come from a dancing background, so I absolutely love being on stage. I have no problem with that. I need to know that I've already won it before I've won it, if that makes sense, and I need to bring that to the stage even more. Now, when it comes to actual improvements, so for myself personally, I definitely wanted to have more quad development, more quad size. Now, my glutes and hamstrings, on the other hand, have actually come such a long way. As you can see from here, this was my physique back in 2016 when I first started to compete, and my feedback was grow your glutes and hamstrings. And I was like, okay. And I literally did just that. I went from training legs once a week to 3 times a week, doing 2 glute and hamstring specifically focused sessions every single week with 1 quad focus session. And as you can see from my last show in 2019, my glutes and hamstrings were popping. This was probably my strongest part of my body, that and my abs, I would say. And I was really, really proud of what I had achieved. But now the goal is to grow the quads. And it probably has been the goal for the last 2.5 years, especially when I saw myself up against the other girls. The only thing that was really missing was a little bit more quad definition and size. So even though I have still been doing 2 to 3 leg sessions a week, 2 of those sessions are now quad focused and 1 is glutes and hamstrings. Of course, I'm gonna hit some glutes and hamstrings in the quad focused days, but the specific muscle that I'm targeting is quads. So let's take a look at what my physique looks like now at 19 weeks out. Let me give it all to you. Let me give it all to you. Because I did a bit of a of bulk prior to prep, it meant that I can go into this prep with my calories as high as possible. This is the other thing that we need to remember, girls, right? And like I always tell you, is if you spent your whole life dieting and you try to do a cut or you want to go into a show, whatever that is for you, and you spent your whole life on really low calories, you're not going to be able to stick to that as long as you want to, or you're going to face metabolic adaptation at some point during your journey. So this is why it's so important to make sure that you do start a diet on as high calories as you can. So for me right now, I'm starting on 1,800 to 2,000 calories, and this is because I'm doing high and low days. Before people start to say, what is the reason for doing high and low days? No, it's not because it speeds up your metabolism or all these myths. For me personally, this is what has worked every single prep for the last couple of years. It means that I have 2 to 3 low days a week, which will fall on a more energy demanding day, for example, on a leg day, and then sticking to my lower calories on a rest day or an upper body day. You need to see your calories on a weekly average. So as long as my calories are the same amount on the weekly average, it doesn't matter how you section them off, how you spread them across the week. But again, remember, as you get into prep, you know, you don't want to be undercutting yourself in the middle of the week with 1,400 calories and trying to save as many on a Saturday because you want to fit in pizza when you need that energy for your workouts. At the minute, at the beginning of prep, I can definitely do this, and you know, I can fit in a pizza here or there. But as I get into prep more, especially 8 weeks out, 10 weeks out, then I will start to have to think a little bit smarter about my food choices. Now, this is why I'm so excited to vlog this journey, because I want to show you how I personally go out and eat out still on prep, how I account for all those things, how I don't restrict myself of anything, because like I said, girls, I don't change anything when I'm prepping. The only thing I do is increase things. So for example, I increase my calorie deficit, I increase my cardio, right? I don't remove anything, I don't change anything, I keep things the same. And this is exactly what you should be doing as well going into a diet, right? Find what works for you, find what fits into your lifestyle. What works for Karen is not going to work for you, and this is something that I've personally developed over the last couple of years. I found my way of doing things, I found my way of structuring things, and it works really well for me. So there's no reason why it can't work for you when you find your own way around doing things too. Now, this is probably the most relaxed I've ever been going into prep. Many reasons for this. I think the first reason is because it's been so long since I've been on stage and I'm dying for it. Secondly, because every prep is always different, and this time around things just feel a lot more relaxed. And I think for me personally, and other athletes can agree with this, is that every prep is different, and that will come down to whatever else is happening in your life too. So back in 2016 was my first ever show, so I was a complete amateur, I didn't know what to expect. I was following meal plans, I was eating 6 meals a day, chicken and broccoli. I had no concept on nutrition. Flexible eating was not even a thing back then, girls. So it was old school bodybuilding. And although I looked fab on the show day and I enjoyed show day, I was fucking miserable. And I remember saying to myself, like, can I see myself doing this as a career? Can I see myself doing this professionally? Do I want to put my body through this, right? Because it was so extreme. And luckily now I've come to realize that it doesn't have to be that way. But back then, this is what I was doing. So 2016 was a very stressful prep because I couldn't go out and I was restricting myself a lot. So in 2017, this was a very emotional prep. For anyone who doesn't know, I actually lost my dad during this prep, right at the beginning as well. So it was a very emotional time. And you know, I even thought about throwing in the towel. I didn't want to put myself under any more unnecessary stress. You know, obviously the mindset I was in at that time was, how the hell can I step on stage when I've just lost my dad? But luckily for me, you know, I had Ross there to support me through it, and he was competing at the same time, so we kind of was doing it together. And the one thing that I always told myself was, like, my dad would want me to do this, right? He wouldn't want me to give up the things I loved. He would be so proud of me for doing that. So essentially that show was more about him than me. If I wanted to prove to myself that I can do it for him, and I know that he would have been so proud of me. So that was a very emotional prep, and I learned so much from it. So 2018 was when I did my pro debut, and this was the year that things started to change for me, right? This was the year that I started to introduce flexible eating. I started to educate myself on nutrition. I knew in my mind back in 2016, my first ever show, I even said to Ross, there has to be a way where I can eat a cookie and still lose fat. And he was like, no, there's definitely not. And even my coach at the time was like, no, you're fucking mental, that's not a thing. And I knew in my mind, I knew in my heart that there was a way and I was gonna find it. Which I did, because this was the year that flexible eating started to come about. A lot of evidence-based research to say it's not about the foods that you eat, it's about how much of it you eat. This was a game changer for me. This is when I started to really pivot my business and my message, applying it to myself. And I actually applied this method during my prep. So it was quite a scary thing to do, to go from this bodybuilder type diet, old school, can't eat the foods you love, to then fitting in the foods I love, a little chocolate bar here or there during prep. But then I started to see the results, right? I was eating chocolate on prep and still losing fat. And I actually got into like the best shape of my life at this point, because one of the main reasons is I didn't have that stress of thinking, I have to remove everything. I can't do this, I can't do that. And although it was flexible, I was still following a meal plan. It was like, okay, you can have a few things here or there put into your meal plan, but I still didn't have that full control. And then come 2019, my last show that I did, I had full control over what I ate. I wasn't following a meal plan. I was still going out every weekend with Ross and having a pizza or a burger, and no, it wasn't a cheat meal, right? This was all worked out in advance. I was just eating foods because I wanted to eat the food, making sure I was staying within my calories, making sure I was hitting my protein, my fats, my carbs, my fiber. But as long as I ticked all those boxes, it was okay to be able to eat those type of foods. And this made prep so much more enjoyable, right? I could still go out with my friends. I didn't have to say no to going out for a meal with my family, because now I've done this for so long. I have such a good gauge about food. So even if I do eat out, yes, it's not going to be 100% accurate, because even when you're putting this into food tracking apps like MyFitnessPal, yes, it's going to be slightly off, but then I just overestimate to account for it. What I'm going to do as part of one of the episodes that I do for this series is show you how I do that. Take my camera out when me and Ross go out for one of our date nights to show you how I track it and what I eat. So if you feel like that's going to be helpful and you want to see that, definitely drop a comment below to let me know. Plus, so many other things as well I want to deliver into this comp prep series. I don't just want to show you what I get up to and how I get ready for the stage. I want to actually provide you with value, education, and a little bit of an insight as to what I eat, not to show you so you can eat like me, but just to show you how I take what I preach and I apply it to my own life. So this is gonna be my first international show, which I'm really excited about, tiny bit nervous about, because obviously there's a lot more to think about this time around. I need to make sure that I'm out in Vegas a week before the show to give my body time to return back to normal, get rid of all the water weight from the flight, just mentally get myself prepared and recover from the jet lag as well. So there's a lot of things to think about, which is why I've made sure that I'm staying in like an Airbnb for 5 nights before the show, with my own space and a gym and a spa, so I can just really relax into the process. Because the last thing you want to do after all this work, after months and weeks and weeks and weeks of training and eating and just literally your head in the game, you do not want to show up on show day looking worn out. You do not want to be one of those girls who stresses out at the last minute and, you know, could maybe fuck up your peak week because of that. So I'm gonna make sure that obviously I am as prepared as I can be. Obviously you can't control what's gonna happen, but you can control how you react to the situation. So to wrap up this vlog, I'm gonna do a little bit of a quick Q&A. I put a question poll out on my Instagram stories earlier on this week and asked you girls, what else do you wanna know about my prep? So let's just spend the last couple minutes going through some of these questions. I did get quite a lot of the same ones, so I'm gonna try to do this in as less time as possible. Make sure I answer all of them, most importantly. So question number 1 is, what bikini are you going for this year? So with that, girls, it is a little bit of top secret. I don't like to reveal too much, and to be honest, I don't actually know. This is like the first or the second time round I've just let Renata, who is my designer, just completely do whatever she wants. Yes, I've given her the colors that I want, but in terms of the design, the patterns, I'm just gonna let her get on with that. I know and I trust in her that she will bring me something amazing, something very original as well, which is what I want. So I trust that whatever I end up getting is gonna be amazing. How much cardio will you be doing? So like I said to you at the beginning, I don't do any cardio, right? You don't wanna throw all your eggs into one basket. This is where so many people come unstuck, right? They say, I'm gonna go on a diet, and then they do loads of cardio, they cut their calories really, really fast. They just end up doing the extremes so quickly that when you hit a plateau, you have nowhere to go. So for me personally, you know, I'm not gonna be doing that. I'm not doing any cardio yet, maybe 4 or 5 weeks in. Calories are very high. I'm gonna focus more on steps. So I'm actually doing 10,000 steps at the minute, and maybe 8 weeks in, that will increase to 12. But just as I know from my previous preps, you know, I've done this time and time again, and yes, every prep is different, but usually I end up doing HIIT sessions, right? Because I prefer this. Lists will come in a little bit further at the end when we're trying to preserve energy, right? HIIT is very taxing on the body, so to be able to do HIIT training when you're a few weeks out from a show is very taxing, and you know, you are at risk of injury, so I might swap that out for low intensity. But at the beginning, definitely, you know, I can imagine in 5 weeks time, we will start to add in some HIIT sessions, just because I would rather move a bit more, do a bit of cardio, than eat less, right? I love my foods. I want to keep my calories as high as I can for as long as I can. Now with that, let me just say I'm fucking nervous about doing HIIT. It has been so long. I have not done any cardio since my last show, since after my reverse. I know that when I get into HIIT, I love it, but at the beginning it's fucking torture. I'm so unfit when it comes to that type of cardio and the stamina that you need for it. So I am excited for it, but I am also a little bit nervous. And talking of nerves, this is question number 3. Are you nervous about taking to the stage? No, I'm not actually nervous. I'm more fucking excited this year, guys. It has been so long. And one thing that I always say is that your body cannot tell the difference between feeling nervous and feeling excited. So you just have to change your perception around your thoughts. So your body cannot tell the difference between what is real and what's not real, right? It's your thoughts that are the indicator. So for me, I will just think, you know, think as if I've already won it. Think as if I'm already on that stage. When I'm practicing my posing, I already imagine myself on that stage. I visualize it so fucking much that it becomes real to me. So by the time I get to the stage, it feels like I've already done this. After 20 weeks of practicing my routine, I'm gonna make sure that my routine is finished in the next few weeks. So it's just a case of practice, 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 right? The only time you're gonna be nervous is if you're unprepared. So again, top tip for anyone who's a newbie in competing, or you've done it a couple of times, posing is like, especially in the WBFF, the thing that you're gonna be marked on the most, and it's the thing that should not be overlooked and left last minute. So if you can go in with that mindset and being prepared and just practice your routine day in, day out, especially on the build up to the show, you won't really have anything to be nervous about. Yes, you're gonna have a little bit of nerves there because there's people watching and it's been a long time, but most importantly, we should just be fucking excited for it, right? And enjoy the moment whilst it lasts, because it goes so fast. So this is gonna be the last question I cover, otherwise I will be here for hours. How do you manage your business whilst competing? This is a really good question, because this is something that I actually really struggled with the first couple years of competing, because back then it was just me and Ross. When we was BTA Fitness, like we was doing everything. And I remember working so late, also having my own clients who was competing as well. And especially on the last show I did, I had 8 girls going into a show the week after me, and it was just me and Ross, and we was trying to manage everyone. He was also competing. And one thing you need to remember is that when your calories are that restricted near the end, your energy is very low. You burn out so quickly. You need naps all the time, right? You need to rest when you can. And obviously your body naturally is gonna move less because it has less energy coming in. So mentally as well, the mental capacity that you need to be able to run a business and compete is a lot. I feel very privileged this time around that over the last couple of years, I have built a team, I have coaches, I have back-end support. I am at that point now that I can go into the show and actually enjoy it, because I know that my business is taken care of. Something that took me 2 years to build, right? And this is part of the reason why I didn't compete last year as well. Along with having my breast augmentation surgery, it was also because I was working so much in my business, right? And I knew that the goals for us was to grow it, grow a team, and then when I get to that point, then I can focus more on myself again. So I'm very grateful to be in a position this year where I have a team working for me, and I've got coaches that will happily help me out with my clients nearer the time. Plus I have Ross as well, who is an absolute babe, and if you follow me on Instagram, you watch my stories, you will see just how helpful he is. He has literally been my rock through every single prep, and honestly I'm so fucking lucky to have him. He gives me so much support, and again when I'm at that point near the end and I just need to chill and we're flying, he will carry my bags, he won't let me lift a finger, right? He's that kind of guy, and I'm so freaking lucky to have him and my team as well as I go into what is going to be the biggest show of my life. So guys, that wraps up episode 1. I'm gonna aim to get a vlog out every 2 weeks, so if there's anything in particular that you want to see in this prep, any ideas that you have for me, please drop them in the comments because this also helps me as well. And remember, if you are new to my channel, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss another episode, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the